Good afternoon, namaskar, and good morning to all those who are joining us from the other parts of the world. I very warmly welcome all of you here to our 11th virtual discourse. It's on the subject of learning from the pandemic, how we are going to redefine our future on the basis of the learning from the pandemic. I very warmly welcome our keynote speaker today, Mr. Beppe Roviati, who has been kind enough to join us from Milan, Italy. Very warm welcome, sir. I'm also extremely delighted to see our former speakers, other eminent guests, and my dear other friends. Thank you very much for making time to join our discourse. We are delighted to see all of you here. Dear friends, when we start something new, when we start something noble, we always start with prayers to seek the blessings or confirmations of the Almighty. So to receive confirmations of for our program, we always start our program with prayers, and prayers and words of God, as you know, they have incalculable value for the human heart. So therefore, the recitations will not only permeate a tranquil and ambience, spiritual ambience here, it will also have soothing and rather guiding effect or healing impact on all those who are in distress and disillusion. Moreover, the health crisis that which the humanity has been facing for more than last 18 months is still persisting, and there is apprehension of the next wave. So we need divine assistance to strengthen us and to combat this formidable challenge for all of us. So, dear friends, we are going to have two prayers. The first prayer will be chanted by our dear friend, Mr. Kamran Hemati, who has joined us all the way from Kharagpur, West Bengal. And the second prayer will be chanted by Mr. Uttam Kamble, who has joined us from Panchgani, Maharashtra. So I will request both of them, first Mr. Hemati to unmute the mic, and let us start the prayer. Thank you very much, friends.
Good evening, friends. It's a pleasure. I play mandolin, and along with mandolin, two of the Baha'i writings I shall try to chant. One is in English and the other one is in Bengali. I charge you all that each one of you concentrate all the thoughts of your heart on love and unity. When a thought of war comes, opposite by a stronger thought of peace. A thought of hatred must be destroyed by a more powerful thought of love. যেখানে প্রভুর নাম গান করা হয়, যেখানে প্রভুর নাম গান করা হয়, যেখানে প্রভুর গুণগান করা হয়। ধন্য সে স্থল, সে we ho, she stan, she naga, she rido, she giriba, she ashno. Thank you.
हे दिव्य विधान करता, हम दया के पात्र हैं, हमें अपनी सहायता दे। घर विहीन बटोही है हम, अपनी शरण का दान दे हमें। बिखरे हुए हैं हम, तू एक कर दे हमें। भटके हुए राही है हम, अपनी शरण में ले हमें। वंचित है हम, अंश मात्र दे हमें। प्यासे है हम, जीवन सरिता की राह दिखा दे हमें। दुर्बल है हम, सबल बना दे हमें, ताकि हम तेरे धर्म की सहायता में उठ खड़े हो और तेरे मार्गदर्शन की राह पर चलकर अपना बलिदान कर सके।
Thank you so much, Mr. Hemati and Mr. Uttam, for your wonderful recitations and for creating a spiritual ambience in our gathering. Thank you so much. Dear friends, you know, all of you, that these programs are organized by the members of the Baha'i community. And I would like to inform you all that today is the birth anniversary of Baha'u'llah. In fact, it's the 204th birth anniversary of Baha'u'llah. And for the last 2 days, the Baha'i communities all over the world, they have been celebrating the birth anniversary of the twin manifestations of God, that is Bahab and Baha'u'llah, who appeared in the mid-19th century in Persia, which was a very difficult time in those days in the course of history in that country. So they appeared. So the Baha'is are celebrating the twin birth anniversary of these blessed personages. The Bab was the forerunner of Baha'u'llah. He appeared to prepare the time and prepare the people for the advent of Baha'u'llah. And Baha'u'llah, Baha'is believe as the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith. And he was persecuted bitterly all his life before he passed away in 1892. So his teachings were very revolutionizing, and because of those teachings, he was bitterly persecuted in the cradle of Baha'i faith, that is Persia. So I congratulate and extend my best wishes to the members of the Baha'i community who are present in this gathering. I also encourage all of them to make a promise on this auspicious day to share his teachings with the wider society as much as possible. At the same time, I request the guests that are present in the gathering to investigate the teachings of Baha'u'llah, why it has been able to change the course of history, and how just within a period of a short span of time, just within 200 years, there are Baha'i communities all over the world to investigate his teachings and to see if they are practical and they can really, bring about changes in our life and unite the human race. So now moving on to the program, dear friends, we have mentioned in the past that these series of programs are mainly focusing on awareness and education of the people on various social issues and spiritual issues. Our primary and fundamental goal is oneness of mankind, which is the basic tenets of the Baha'i communities all over the world. We only believe that it is possible through education, awareness, and training of the mindsets of the people. We are truly grateful that we have been receiving a lot of support from the people, although they haven't been able to participate in all our discourses programs, but they watch the YouTube videos that we upload from time to time, and they share their comments and positive feedback with us. We receive scores of encouraging mails from them to share with them the recordings. That's the reason we decided to put it on the YouTube. So I request all of you to support and subscribe the channel, and for the wider dissemination of information that we upload there. I am grateful for the friends who have been supporting us, who have been sending us feedback and subscribing the channel. I'm also requesting all others to publicize this small initiative of ours for the betterment of humanity. Thank you very much, friends. So those who are joining the program for the first time, I request all of you to leave your contacts and emails and phone numbers in the chat box in order that we can invite you again for the future programs and for keeping communications with you. So before we introduce our keynote speaker today, that he will address us, we will take a few minutes, as we do every time, to mention the purpose of organizing these programs for the benefit of those friends who are joining for the first time. And then we will introduce the subject and our keynote speaker, and he will address us. Dear friends, we know that these programs, as I mentioned you before, are organized by the members of the Baha'i community, which is probably the most diverse body of people on this planet. The basic tenets of the Baha'i faith remains as oneness of mankind, oneness of God, and oneness of religions. And the Baha'is, the members of the Baha'i community, work relentlessly for the unification and betterment of humankind and for translation of the vision of Baha'u'llah into reality. Education remains at the heart of the activities of all our communities. It is the core belief that every human being is rich in gems of inestimable value, and only education is able to release the potential that is latent within a human being. No one can ignore the fact that ignorance has been the main cause of or inadequate understanding of the concepts of the issues or social issues. It has been able, it creates most of the prejudice in human minds, which contributes to the social ills that we see around us. Therefore, the members of the Baha'i communities, they undertake a lot of educational initiatives all over the world, and we have more than 300 training institutes across the world for undertaking different kinds of informal and formal courses for the people. We are conscious of the fact that lecturing sessions do not help much. Therefore, these programs are designed as participatory. After the address of the keynote speaker, the floor will be kept open for views of the friends and for, what is the next course of action after the program, what changes we are going to bring about in our individual life that we are going to talk about. Each one of us is responsible and accountable for our common future, and there is no room for the observers or the passive listeners. So therefore, these programs are participatory by nature. We wish to consult and learn together, create love and unity, create a unifying vision within the mindset of the people, and create a cohesive kind of consciousness for our nation building to realize our a vision of one world, one family. So we are not here for intellectual excellence. We try to bring about change in the way of thinking to cultivate better understanding of the concepts and realities of human existence, the higher purpose of human life, and to inculcate good virtues within all of us for creating vibrant and prosperous communities and neighborhoods. We try to create conversations with people, talk about contemporary issues, to share our thoughts, concerns, spread positive ideas, and facilitate humanity's passage to maturity, to bring about a better society around us where there will be no conflict, no human misery in the time to come, and we all will be able to live together in peace and harmony and to create a better world for our children and for the future generations. So this is our 11th virtual discourse. And as we told before, this is devoted to the subject of learning from the pandemic, how it is going to redefine humanity's way forward. So friends, I request all of you to actively participate in the program, and please switch on your video, show your hands to speak, and publicize these programs widely after the program, and help this modest initiative. Now I'll be introducing the subject and the keynote speaker. Dear friends, for the last 18 months, the humanity has been struggling with this pandemic. We have lost more than 5 million people. That is the official statistics of the governments of the world. The economic and social disruption, the magnitude of it has been colossal. Millions of people have lost their life and livelihood, and we are not here to discuss the negative impact of the pandemic, which is well known, but we are going to discuss and understand this catastrophic scale of human misery. If there was a way that it could have been averted or the damages could have been minimized. Secondly, we must also understand and try to learn the messages the crisis has given us and communicated to us clearly. The most fundamental message that it has conveyed to humanity, that it has no choice but to recognize its inherent oneness and interdependence. Hereafter, the humanity should not be having any other options, rather to realize that it is one and to fight all the global challenges together. There are other messages that are also facing humanity, and we are also getting from the crisis that we are facing. Respecting the natural world, creating a healthy relationship with between the human beings and the animal world. All these things are going to be discussed by our keynote speaker today, Mr. Beppe Robiati. Mr. Beppe Robiati is an Italian. He is a distinguished member of the Baha'i community in Italy, and he has been serving as a member of the Italian Governing Council of the Baha'is for a long time. He's an author of several books. He has written numerous research papers and articles on the subject of economy and the New World Order, ethics, corporate social responsibility, management issues, and many other subjects. He's the CEO of an industrial group based in Milan, Italy, and he has been conducting lecture sessions in more than 10 universities of Italy regularly on these subjects, on ethics, on management subjects, and corporate social responsibility, and some other issues. He is a very prominent member of the Baha'i community of Italy. We are very grateful to Mr. Robiati to accept our invitation, and he has been kind enough to accept it, and he has joined us all the way from Milan. May I kindly request Mr. Robiati to address us. Kindly unmute yourself and address us.
So I'm so happy. I'm so happy, and I want to thank Mr. Jitan to have invited me to this presentation in this morning. Of course, I'm not behind the corner. It's quite far away from you. In fact, I am in my 11 o'clock, and you are nearly to be sunset. So I'm sorry if the dinner will come earlier for you than for me. I want to share also some thoughts about the pandemic, and I prepared few slides on a PowerPoint, and I want to share in order that we can really understand clearly what I want to say. We cannot forget the time we're living in. This is a special time where no one could have imagined what kind of changes COVID-19 have brought into people's daily life, in business activities, in social interactions. And of course, we don't know, as Jitan has said, for how long we will have to live in such a situation. But this event gives us a big chance to redefine our way of living individually and collectively. Therefore, we need to pause and reflect about the history of evolution to understand the historical time and if we want to be part of shaping our future. Now, you know, generally speaking, we have heard or we learned that evolution was like a parable. We were in the lower part, and today, after thousands of years, we are up there, and nothing happened during this evolution time. But this is a big misunderstanding because in reality, evolution was developed through difficult transitions time, stages and steps, jumping from a lower level to an upper level. You can see in the slide, we were individual, we became families, the families came together, and tribes was born, the tribes were coming together, and they became a village, village became a city, city became a city-state like Roman Empire, the city-states became empires. And after the empire in the 17th century, we became nations. So you see, this is just a mathematical model to show you that in reality, evolution was not a parable, but was a step, just jumping from one step to another step. But what is important to understand, and I want to show you the next one, that any time we were jumping from a lower level to an upper level, there were a period of transitions with vibrations, turmoil, and chaotic situations like civil wars, social crises, growing problems, and so on. We reached the level of nation, the level where we are living today in the 1700s. The time of nations can be divided into 3 stages. The first stage, it was a nation depending on one empire. Later on, an independent station coming out from the dependent station, and finally a sovereign station. Now we live in a place where we have about 200 nations on the planet, but not all the nations are sovereign nations. Sovereign nation means that the government is elected democratically. So we have countries in the world that really they did not reach such a level. But now I want to make a reflection with you. On the last 200 years, there have been events that should have got us thinking. 2 world wars, several global financial crises that affected the entire world economy system, and huge migration of millions of poor people in many parts of the world, in Mediterranean, in America, in Australia. Racial wars, terrorist attacks everywhere, even in our days, climate changes and pollution of the environment at incredible speed, increase of extremes of wealth and poverty to an unacceptable level, concentration of the wealth of the planet into the hands of a minority of the population, and increasing of the poverty. Just to make you an example, 20 years ago, the CEO of International Monetary Fund, he was telling the population of the planet that only 20% of the population were having hands all the resources of the planet. After 20 years, this 20% became 1%. 1% means that the concentration of the wealth of the planet has gone into the hands of a minority, leaving and increasing the poverty of the population everywhere. But later on, we have seen rise of conflicts. whether ethnic or religious, across many nations of the world, affecting children, women, innocent population. Again, the escalation of corruption and theft of power, the growing of inequality between men and women in the fields of economy, environment, employment, and health, to name just a few, and the increase of ideologies and so on. So this means that we are in a period of transition with strong turmoil. If you see in the slides you have on your screen, you see that going from village to tribe, or from tribe to village, from village to a nation, there were strong transitions and turmoil. Now, due to the fact that in the last 200 years, we had so many difficult situations, we are in a vibrations and turmoil situation. And mainly, there are five main vibrations and causes of turmoil. Environment is the first one. Employment is the second one. Health is the third one. Women is the fourth one, and world economy is the last one. Of course, these are the main vibrations. Then there are so many different vibrations depending on the country where we live. But let us just check just a few minutes, because we don't have time to go into any subject and to deep it. Environment. We are in a period, and you can refer to the meeting we had in Scotland, where all the chief and the head of the states have come together, because the situation has reached the end of the situation. Environment is in a big crisis. You can see around the planet how many dramas we have. This is caused due to the fact that each nation is going by itself. The second crisis, the second turmoil is employment. You know that 40% of the population of this planet is without a job. And what do? They're trying to move from their countries and to go to richest countries to find a job. 40% of the population is moving all around without any system, without any help. And this is creating a big vibration. Entering into vibration is the problem of race, the problem of religion, the problem of the color of the skin, the problem of gender. And this is creating everywhere, also in the Western world, a very big vibration. Health. Health is a very important vibration today. Not only due to the fact that we are coming out, but not at the end of the COVID-19. You know how many countries in the world? We have 220 countries today. How many countries have by themselves a health organization? Only 40. So 20% of the countries of the world are organized to take care of the citizens of their nations. And you see what happened. Due to the fact that there is no one international organization taking care of the health, we had a problem that each nation was really approaching the problem of the virus by its own ideas, its own system, its own instruments. And this has created a long problem. Women are really persecuted and discriminated everywhere you go. It's not only the problem of Afghanistan, but the level of women also in the Western world, in America, in Europe, in Japan, is really, there is a strong devaluation of the role of the women. And the last one is economy. Of course, each one of these items should take an hour to enter and to deep it. World economy, you know, I have to make just a little story. You know, after the Second World War, where 7 nations of this planet have been involved in the Second World War, these 7 countries were totally destroyed. Germany, Italy, England, and so on, Japan, and so on. What happened in 1945? A big conference was called by the nations involved in the war, which is very famous, called the Britainwood Conference. The Britainwood Conference had the purpose to reorganize the economy and the financial situation and the industry of the 7 countries involved in the Second World War. So 3 main institutions were born in these days: the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the WTO, the World Trade Organization. These 3 institutions have been, these 3 main institutions have been given the role to rebuild the economy and the financial life in the 7 countries involved in the Second World War. You know what happened? That from this conference, the 7 countries became the G7, so the most powerful country in the world. And up to today, we are living in a situation where these 7 countries are not the strongest countries in the economy and the financial situation, because other countries have come out, like China, like India. You're living in India. India is becoming one of the powerful countries in the economy in the world. South Africa, Brazil, Korea, and so on. But what happened? That the 7 countries in the G7, they decided not to add anyone in the G7. So the world economy today is one of the main vibrations in turmoil due to the fact that 7 countries are dictating the strategies for the whole world. So you see, this is the problem that we are living today, and this is why we are in vibrating activities. So now we have to understand that all the situation I have explained to you finds us unprepared, both at the individual level and a structural and institutional level on which society is based today. Our society did not learn until now the absolute necessity to develop a global structural system with global laws, global institutions, global economic system, and global executives. And now we are paying heavily our lack of capacity to deal with it. I hope that the government, the institutions, the inhabitants of the planet are learning this is the time to start to move towards a new world structural system. So we have to realize that our society will be safe only if the entire planet will be safe. The question, therefore, emerges from all sides is this: will we make it? Will we succeed? What I just said, and if so, how? The answer is yes, we will succeed, but there are some conditions we have to pass through. There is a filter through which we have to pass. First condition: the liberal, extremely capitalist, heavily materialistic way of life, which is based and oriented only toward consumption and profit, the enjoyment, and to the assumption that we have the right to indulge our lower impulses and passion, should be revised. So the first condition is to revise the system with which we are living. Second condition: are we ready as a global society to change the way in which we have been living in the last century? If so, can we accept that we have to work hard to change it? And again, are we ready to accept that we may not fully see the results of this transformation? And again, are we ready to believe that this is not only possible, but necessary and inevitable? Are we ready as nations to give sovereignty to a wider and higher institution like a world government? Are the G7 ready to leave the economic power to a world institution? Are the national governments ready to declare that the resources under their territories are not longer their property, but the property of a world institution like a world government? And again, are the people of the world ready to accept the idea of having a world legislative body which will issue laws for the entire planet? How can we think that the current social system, driven to the point of being able to destroy the planet itself, can face the challenges of a de facto globalized world without barriers, borders, and powered with technology and information unimaginable a few years ago? So the whole stage is set for a big jump. What we have seen in the last 200 years has been the preparation to show to the people and to the government of the world that we are at the dawn of a big jump. The recognition that humanity is a unique living organism composed of interdependent elements, so that the well-being of the one affects the whole, and the health and the wealth of the whole depends on the interaction between the individuals. Now, the current situation is that we are in this situation. You see the 200 nations going around, and you see what is the jump through which we have to go. So this big jump is the answer to all previous questions. Furthermore, we need to acquire awareness of our essential nature, which is not only made by physical body, but also and above all of intelligence, of inner qualities, gems of inestimable values, skills, mutual services, and respect. These inner qualities, these spiritual virtues, must be brought out from ourselves and offered to society at large in a humble way. All of us understand that these gems of inestimable values are love, humility, generosity, friendship, interest in the community and not only in ourselves, service to others, beauty, acceptance of diversity in all aspects of life, like gender, race, nationality, culture, religion, and economic and social level. But we also need a social order based on fairness and justice, without which no real unity is possible. No profit, no economic growth, no success of a company or of a society can be imagined without putting women and men, and generally human beings, at the center of the picture. The new values of this era are precisely universal education, equal dignity, human rights, opportunities, and protection of every human being in everywhere he lives. And finally, a system of world government that values the cultural, historical, political, and artistic and ethnic heritage that make our planet a garden luxuriant and attractive because of the variety with which it is enriched. And as many still fail to accept, we must realize that man alone cannot make a qualitative leap, because the future is immensely greater than our thoughts and our miseries. We need to lean on enlightened minds, high inspirations, hidden energies that emerge from the darkness of our ignorance. This is why in the 19th century, in the 1800, a nobleman called Mirza Hossein Ali Nuri, well known in the world with the title of Baha'u'llah, has come to give us the vision, instruments, and hope to realize these goals. The banner of his faith is that the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. This quotation, the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens, it may at first appear simply and a beautiful phrase. But you have to enter into the phrase and you have to search the depth of the inner meaning of the quotation. So the first part is very easy. The earth is but one country. The planet is becoming a common home whose inhabitants are free to move from one room to another without requiring a visa or presenting a passport, changing a language, currency, and so on. Any one of you here have a house. To go from the kitchen to the dining room, you don't need a passport, you don't need to change your language, you don't need to change your currency, you don't ask any visa. There are no military walls to stop your entrance from one room to another. So this is the planet today. The planet is becoming a common house. So the people are really should be free to move without requiring a visa, presenting a passport, changing the language, the currency, and so on. So the first part is quite easy. Even Gorbachev, at this time during his governing the Russia, he used this quotation saying that the earth has become a common house. But the second part of the quotation, and mankind is citizen, this is a very strong part of the quotation, and also is not clear, and I want to explain you exactly what Baha'u'llah had in mind to clarify this part of mankind is citizen. Baha'u'llah is introducing the subject of citizenship, which today is a point of conflict. Any place you go in the world, in any nation, the problem is what kind of passport you have. This passport is clarifying the citizenship you have in your mind. Today, the passport is fundamental. I'm an Italian, so I have an Italian passport. Because this passport, this passport is giving me some rights which are fundamental. The Italian passport is giving to those who have the passport in their pocket freedom and liberty, free education paid for by the government, social security, and great opportunity to have a job or to be helped by the government if I do not have the job, pension at a certain age, and mainly the opportunity to have study courses up to the university free of charge. All these items, and not only these are the main items I want to share with you, are granted by the Italian government only because I have an Italian passport. Now, if I was born in Zimbabwe or in the Congo, and I should have a Zimbabwean or a Congolese passport, I would not have all these rights granted. So the second part of the quotation, the earth is but one country and mankind is citizen, the second part, mankind is citizen, tells us that independently of where you were born, you should be granted the same rights and benefits and opportunities any place you were born. This means the children, the women, the men of the entire planet will have the same possibility independently from where they are born because they are citizens of the world. So you can understand how far are we from what Baha'u'llah had in mind in the 1800s about the citizens to be a citizen of the world. This is a revolution in society at large, a big revolution. But this is only an example, which shows how immense is the depth of such a statement for all aspects of our lives, guiding not only our individual behavior and attitude towards others, but at all levels of human interaction, governance, of institution, organization of society and system. Reflection, my dear friends, on this is necessary to flesh out the practical steps needed to reach this level. And you see that the point, the apex, is the unification of the planet. I want to share a quotation from a very important economist. He was the CEO of the European Central Bank, and today he's the Prime Minister in Italy, Mr. Mario Draghi. He's very well known. They were together even with the President of India. He was in Italy, and we had a meeting for the G20, and also in Glasgow. We're all together, and I've seen a picture between Mr. Draghi, who is the Prime Minister in Italy, with the President of India. Mr. Draghi, in one of his talks, and I'm quoting what he said with his words exactly. There is a fundamental area for growth, whereby a long-term vision must be committed to immediate action. So we must have a long-term vision. Education, and more broadly, investment in the young generation. My dear friends, in 25 years, those who are children today will be the chief of the governments of the world. We have to allow them to enter with a new vision of the education. And the education should be the education on the earth is but one planet and mankind is citizen, the equality between men and women, equal opportunity, the cutting of the extremes of wealth and poverty, and so on. This was always true in the past, the education of the children. Yet the current situation makes a massive investment in intelligence and financial resources in the sector of education of the children, imperative and urgent. Participation in the society of the future will require today's young generation to possess greater capacities for discernment and values for the new planet. If we consider the cultures and the nations that have best handled uncertainty and the need for a change, they all have assigned education a fundamental role in preparing young people to handle change and uncertainty in the life of path through wisdom, independence of judgment, and spiritual values. So, our contribution to rethinking society after the pandemic is to share the vision, this vision of Baha'u'llah with society at large, with wisdom, detachment, flexibility, and patience. The responsibility that everyone has in the ability to distinguish what is useful and what is harmful in the sole interest of the collective good. This is the only way we should really walk, we should run very fast, is what Baha'u'llah said, for the future of humanity is the unification of all mankind in one family together. I send my love to each of you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation, Mr. Robiati. Thank you so much for drawing our attention to the application of ethical and spiritual principles. You know, how we can implement the vision of Baha'u'llah for the unification of mankind. Thank you so much, Mr. Robiati, for sharing your thoughts and insights on the subject. I'm sure that the friends will have questions and observations after when we make the floor open for them. Dear friends, we all struggle in our individual life to be ethical, to be human, and we have to fight our own spiritual battles every day. So how can we help ourselves in this? How can we raise our inner consciousness? How can we raise our inner motivation to do something good? How can we segregate truth from error? How can we see that we are right and we are in the right direction? We are living our life in the right direction. So the only solution to make it a habit is to immerse ourselves in the ocean of holy writings that comes from different religions or written by different messengers of the God in the past. So a moral capacity building is very vital if we want the individual, if we want all of us to be naturally happy and apply the virtues and spiritual principles in our life and to contribute to the society. So we make it a routine in our programs to read from the Holy Scriptures. We select some of the holy quotes to read. I will request Dr. Merchant, he is with us, to read those holy quotes. Dr. Merchant, please unmute yourself.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Jiten Mishra, and the organizing team, and to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Robiati, for a wonderful presentation. As desired, here are the motivational quotes we have from all the different religions. The first one is from the Bhagavad Gita. All living beings are divine souls. God is seated in everyone, and hence all are equally respect-worthy. You should perform your duty with a view to guide people and for the universal welfare. strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless work, one attains the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. From the Maha-Upanishad, only small men discriminate, saying, one is a relative, the other is a stranger. For those who live magnanimously, the entire world constitutes but a family. From the Holy Quran, O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know each other and be good to your kin and the orphans and the needy and the neighbor of your kin and the alien neighbor. And do not mix the truth with falsehood. Yeah, something on the screen. Yes. And do not mix the truth with falsehood or conceal the truth while you know it. Help one another in acts of piety and righteousness, and do not assist each other in their acts of sinfulness and transgression. And speak to people good words. O ye who believe, stand out firmly for Allah as witnesses to fair dealing, and let not the hatred of others to make you swerve to wrong and depart from justice. Be just, that is next to piety. Allah does not wrong the people at all, but it is the people who are wronging themselves. From the Holy Bible, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. See what kind of love the Father has given to us. That we should be called children of God, and so we are. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. If one member suffers, all suffer together. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as ye have helped his people and continue to help them. And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices, God is pleased. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. From the writings of Gautama Buddha, a generous heart, kind speech, and a life of service and compassion are the things which renew humanity. Set your heart on doing good. Do it over and over again, and you will be filled with joy. If you light a lamp for somebody, it will also brighten your path. A generous heart, kind speech.
It's an error.
Sorry.
Skip the passage.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's the. Now I come to the Baha'i writings. Yeah. O children of men, know ye not why we created you all from the same dust? That no one should exalt himself over the other. Ponder at all times in your hearts how you were created. Since we have created you all from one same substance, It is incumbent on you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Consider the flowers of a garden. Though differing in kind, color, form, and shape, yet inasmuch as they are refreshed by the waters of one spring, revived by the breath of one wind, invigorated by the rays of one sun, this diversity increaseth their charm and added unto their beauty. Address yourselves to the promotion of the well-being and tranquility of the children of men. Bend your minds and wills to the education of the peoples and kindreds of the earth, that haply the dissensions that divided may be blotted out from its face, and all mankind become the upholders of one order. The purport is this, that to train the character of humankind is one of the weightiest commandments of God, and the influence of such training is the same as that which the sun exerted over tree and fruit. The root cause of wrongdoing is ignorance, and we must therefore hold fast to the tools of perception and knowledge. Good character must be taught. The individual must be educated to such a high degree that he would rather have his throat cut than tell a lie. The Universal House of Justice, the supreme governing body of the Baha'is, the world says, world order can be founded only on an unshakable consciousness of the oneness of mankind, a spiritual truth which all the human sciences confirm. Recognition of this truth requires abandonment of prejudice of every kind, race, class, color, creed, nation, sex, degree of material civilization, everything which enables people to consider themselves superior to others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Merchant.
Pleasure.
For reading the Holy Quotes. I'm sure that we have learned something from the Holy Writings and we have inspired ourselves to a certain extent. Now I request the friends to please switch on their videos so we can take a group photograph. Adib, is it done? Please tell me no, Mr. Parida, is it done? Oh, you have done. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so before we open our floor for the friends to comments and questions, we're going to have a song. we have Madam Pina with us. So she's going to sing us a song. She has joined us from Malaysia. She's going to sing for us a beautiful song. Madam Pina, you are unmuting yourself. Adib.
Okay, thank you. I got unmuted. This is one of the 26th newly translated prayer by Abdul Bahab that I have humbly attempted to put into melody. Oh Lord, so rich in bounty, so replete with grace, whose knowledge doth mine inmost heart and soul embrace. At morn, the solace of my soul is none but thee, the knower of my loss and woe is none but thee. The heart for a moment hath thy mention known, will seek no friend save longing pain for thee alone. Withered be the heart that sigheth not for thee, and better blind the eye that crieth not for thee. In all mine hours of deepest gloom, O Lord of might, my heart hath thy remembrance for a shining light. Do through thy favor breathe thy spirit into me, that what hath never been may thus forever be. Consider not our merit and our worth, O Lord of bounty, but the grace thou pourest forth upon these broken winged birds, whose flight is low. Out of thy tender mercy, newfound wings bestow, newfound wings bestow. Abdul Bahab.
Thank you so much, Madam Pina, for this beautiful song. So touching, so nice. Thank you so much. Okay, now I request, now we want to keep the floor open for the friends to comment. Before I proceed to the participants, I have an observation or rather a question from our keynote speaker before we proceed to others. that, in everyday life, we see that people around us, most of the conversations, they are centered around my rights, my privileges, my personal entitlement, what is my share in the resources of the society. So how can we reduce these habits of self-interest, prejudice, and close-mindedness, which is hindering actually the movement of the humanity towards maturity? We see every day that the indifference of the people to the sufferings of the masses of people, and we see a lot of entertainment, amusements everywhere, and callousness everywhere. So what we can do in our individual capacity, keeping aside the ruling class, what they do or they don't do, what we can do in our individual lives to reduce these destructive trends that we see around us. What is your views?
This is a question that everywhere I go, people is asking. This is the question. We have 7 billion of people are asking the same question. The answer is very, very clear, and it's coming from the writings of Baha'u'llah. When Baha'u'llah is telling us, teach my cause. In the word teaching, sometimes we have a misunderstanding. We are not teaching, like in the Catholic religion, something which is catechistical. Teaching in the words of Baha'u'llah is to give a vision of personal life and a vision to the life of the planet. So to give a vision means to spend time with your friends, invite them at home, try to show them how the planet is going down in a very difficult situation. And someone who is well known with the title of Baha'u'llah 150 years ago was telling us that the planet will go down. The only way to keep it up is to show them a new vision of life individually and a new vision of life collectively. What does it mean individually? Individually means that we have been is accustomed today to have values on the mouth. Everybody is full of values when we speak. But values, people is tired to listen values by the mouth. We have to put values in practice. So if we show the principle of Baha'u'llah in our daily life, in our business activity, in the relation with our partner, in the relation with our children, in the sporting time, in communication system, if we show them how we practically use the values, this is the best way to give vision to the people. I'm living in a business community because I'm a businessman. Anytime you talk with the business people, they close they have earphones, they close it because they are tired to listen. They want to see. And the only way to see is what Abdul Bahab has done. We are now in the 100 of the passing of Abdul Bahab. Abdul Bahab was the son of Baha'u'llah, was the elder son of Baha'u'llah. He was for more than 50 years in prison with his father. In 1909, when the Ottoman Empire when the Sultan was overthrown and the people were free, and Abdul Bahab was in prison, he was free, he decided to do what? To go to Europe and America and to show practically the vision of Baha'u'llah. And the vision of Baha'u'llah is mainly on 5 main subjects. First one, God is only one. We can call him in a different way. We can call him God, we can call him Jehovah, we can call it Brahma, we can call him God, we can call him Dieu. In any place you go, we have a different name. Generally, Baha'u'llah, not to be understood, not to be misunderstood, he generally makes examples to clarify his opinion. And he said, when you watch the sun, it gives light and heat for the life of the planet. In any place you go, they call this sun in a different way. But each one of us, in our intention, we know of what we speak. The same is for God. He's only one, but each one of us is calling him in a different way. We pray him in a different way. We imagine him in a different way, but we always say that this is only one. When God has created his humanity, and this humanity has been created by love, he made a covenant, he made a contract with his humanity, that any time humanity was losing the right path, the right road, God was so nice to send a teacher, a spiritual teacher, to put the humanity in the right path. So many times he did. So we have in our history so many spiritual teachers, like Krishna, Buddha, Zoroaster, Abraham, Moses, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, and Bahab. These spiritual teachers have taken society from the bended way and put it in the right way. And we see that civilization has gone up to our century. In the 1800s, all this turmoil and let us say difficulties have started. And because God is generally sending the spiritual teachers before the problems are starting, has sent a spiritual teacher with the name of Baha'u'llah. He has given all the principles and law for the future of humanity. So what you have to do, to share, not to convince the people, but to share with the people this vision of the personal life and the life of the society at large.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Of course, no, just only one thing. You know, if you go in the history of the religions, you know, when Jesus Christ came after 300 years, especially in Europe, the Catholic religion became a state religion due to the fact that the king in those days were becoming Catholics. So the population were following the kings. Baha'u'llah doesn't want that we follow the one king who becomes a Baha'i. He wants us to research the truth and to keep the truth inside us on a personal basis. This takes time. This is a slow path. But the roots of a tree takes time to become bigger and bigger and bigger, because otherwise the tree will not grow up.
Thank you very much. Dr. Merchant, you want to share your views?
Yes, briefly, of course, it has been a very inspiring presentation by Mr. Obiati, and he has given this world picture. You know, we are in the midst of a lot of festivities. Many festivals are happening, and including those of the Baha'i faith, the twin founders. Every time, you know, we hear some public leader, head of the state or head of the government, they will appreciate, like, for instance, on 25th December, we have Christmas coming. So naturally, the president, the vice president, the prime minister will convey their greetings, and they always make a statement that the teachings of Jesus Christ are still relevant to our age. Sometime back, you will have Lord Mahavir, the founder of Jainism, who came 2,616 or 18 years ago. But when the head of the state makes an appreciation statement, he says that his teachings are still relevant for today. In India, we are very fond of also quoting Mahatma Gandhi, who fought for our independence. So we say that his teachings are also very relevant for today. So this actually creates a big puzzle for me, that how could things that happened thousands of years back, and the founders of the religions, great religions, they gave a message to the people of their time, which has no reference point to the present condition of humanity, like what Mr. Obiati mentioned about climate crisis, the unemployment, the migration, the inequality and gender justice, still a big challenge. Those things were not there at that time. But so how come how do you correlate? So perhaps I think the only way is that some of the spiritual principles they gave may have a relevance, but not the whole of thing. So the social or the governance principles for the society and the planet have to change in accordance with the times. So this is where I think the challenge is before every human being.
Yes.
Spiritually, we accept. Yeah, but perhaps you can a little bit elaborate, Mr. Robiati.
Yeah.
Because if you say that the teachings of the Greek philosophers are still relevant to our times, but our times are different.
Yeah, but I tell you, the best example is what I generally teach at the university. I generally say to the students, you are at the last year of the university, near to take the doctorate, the PhD.
Yes.
The numbers you are using from 0 to 9 are exactly the number you learned when you were at the primary school. But the way you put the numbers together with the assumption that the society, the university is helped to solve problems that at the elementary school you could not. But with the same number, you go into the high level of mathematics, you could not understand when you are at primary school. So when Baha'u'llah is using the numbers, are the same numbers of Krishna or Buddha, Zoroaster, Jesus Christ. But the way that he put them together is to solve the problem. When a child goes to the market with the mother at the 6 years old, he wants to buy the eggs. 1 egg is €1, 2 eggs, €2. It's enough. But if he go to university, he has to go to the moon. He cannot go 1 + 1 is 2. He needs a different system where the numbers are put in a different way. So when Baha'u'llah is giving us the vision, he's using the same numbers because these are the basic numbers of spirituality. Love, friendship, and amity is always the same. The prophets have taught the same spiritual numbers. But the way we have to apply them is in a different society. When Jesus Christ came, he came in Palestine. There were a few thousand people. Now we are 8 billion. How do we put this together? Love is okay, but you have to apply love in the way that all the population can really succeed in getting enough love to survive. So what Baha'u'llah is giving us, and really we can have a conversation very deep on that, especially for those who will manage the planet. Baha'u'llah, I don't say he's a genius because this is the word of God coming down, so he's not coming by himself. But it's a geniality what he says in the 1800s. In the 1800s, we didn't reach the level of nation. Baha'u'llah was speaking about unity of the nation. In the 1800s, we didn't reach the national government of a nation. Baha'u'llah was speaking of a worldwide nation, about justice, a world tribunal, about language, one unique language for all the people of the world, currency. Speculations about currency in the financial system today is critical. Baha'u'llah says we will have 1 hour, only one currency together. So you see, one of the laws for which the Baha'is will be persecuted in the future, and this is, I tell you, as an economist. Baha'u'llah is telling us that the resources of the underground are not property of the governments of the nations which are there, but the property of all human beings. Multinational companies will kill us due to the fact that this law is a law of justice. And he says that all the resources will be under the custody of a world government and distributed by equity and justice. Can you imagine an economy like this in the 1800s? We cannot imagine today. 200 years ago, this is why they put him in prison for 40 years in order to keep his mouth closed.
Yeah, thank you very much for a very illuminating and enlightening explanation.
Friends, please show your hands if you want to share your views or you want to ask a question. First, we go with Mr. Yash. Mr. Yash has shown his hand. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Jitain. Good evening.
For me, it's good morning.
Good evening. Yeah, sorry. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Mr. Robiati. I think my question is what the last two speakers and what you were trying to say that. So basically, the value should be in service, not in the mouth. But what about when the people in authority are somewhere not letting you do the service? Like, for example, if I'm just saying that simple in Delhi, there is a lot of politics that is being played on, simple thing like firecrackers, right? The people, the government is saying something, the opposition is saying something. So when at these small issues you have the government coming after you, not doing what we call as just, then what should people do, right? I mean, I understand the spirituality part, I understand education part, but what if the authority themselves do not allow you to do it? So then what should young people, youth like me should be doing at that time? Yeah.
Okay. This is a very important question because, the Universal House of Justice, which is the governing body of the Baha'i community, has started 20 years ago a new system of education. This is called the Institute. The Institute is a structure where we can be educated since we are children. One of the main subjects about education, if you talk with teachers or philosophers or psychologists, they tell you that education starts when the baby is still into the mother, when he's there. This is education, spiritual education. When the mother speaks with the child, this is education. So the House of Justice has given us the institute where since we have 5, 6 years old, we enter the courses where we learn values. One of the important, when the children classes are over, you enter into the junior youth program, where you use the values you learn as a child, and you enter into the time of service, because when you are a child, it's very difficult to serve because there are so many problems. But when a junior youth, you can really enter into the community, the outside community. In your municipality, you can really serve the benefits of mankind. Slowly, we go up, and when you are an adult, you can go to a study circle and learn how to put in practice the values. So one of the important definition, because we have to have clear in mind what spirituality is. Spirituality in the writings of Baha'u'llah is not someone is going to the top of a mountain, stays there 24 hours for 75 years alone, praying the whole day, we don't know who, and just stay there alone. For Baha'u'llah, spirituality is love into action. It's not only love into action. If you don't put the action, love does not work. Because love without action is ego. It's only for yourself. Love into action means to bring love from your inside to someone who needs to be loved. So this is the way that service is love into action. So service is put spirituality into practical fee. So this is not easy, because we come from a society, I generally speak for Europe, where the Christianity has given the idea that spirituality means to be a priest, or to go to the church, or to make some, to say words continuously like a prayer. So this is a very difficult to show to the Europeans that love is to serve to the benefit of mankind. So the vision is always not you. Abdul Bahab says we should cut the word I. We should put we, because I is the ego, we is for everybody. So this is what is important, is that teaching the faith of Baha'u'llah is to giving a vision for the benefit of mankind. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It's only for yourself, and with yourself, you will die like a balloon full of ego, but without any practical service. For example, I'm an economist. I teach at the university. I generally speak of the vision of Baha'u'llah. I cannot teach the faith of Baha'u'llah in a university because I'm a teacher, I'm a professor. But in my presentation, I put the vision of Baha'u'llah, saying also the name of Baha'u'llah, like Einstein, like someone here. Because what is important is the vision that Baha'u'llah has given us. And the result is fantastic, because the students are writing emails saying, Mr. Robiati, where we can deep the idea you have told us today about unification of the planet. So you can give them privately the Baha'i website or any writing of Baha'u'llah. Take care that Baha'u'llah has written to 20,000 tablets. 20,000 tablets in 41 years in a difficult situation, in a prison, without pen, without paper. 20,000 tablets. If you put them one after the other, is 100 volumes. Only 10% has been translated into English. Because the faith of Baha'u'llah is the faith of the future, and we don't know how many problems we will have in the future. So this is why Sheikh Effendi has translated what we need today. But all the future word order of Baha'u'llah will be clarified by letters and tablets of Baha'u'llah written by himself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Robiati. Thank you, dear Ash, for asking that question. Wonderful question. We understand one of the reasons that actually one of the prime reasons that people do all kinds of wrong things is not because they deliberately do the wrong things. They're ignorant. They don't understand. You see, inadequate understanding of the concepts, the ideas, the realities. So our challenge is to initiate conversations. That's what Mr. Robiati is talking about. Raise awareness, consciousness within the people, and promote a culture which is unifying and constructive for the whole society. Now, the last part of the program, we have one hand, Mr. Daniel. Due to paucity of time, please precisely, if you can share your views, please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Robiati. If you have time, I'd like you to look at the URL link that I put in the chat box here to talk about Baha'i education, elementary education curricula, when in the future we have Baha'i schools and Baha'i universities. Can we already start to design that curricula and design the course material? And how do we do that?
Yeah, it's quite clear. The institute, the Ruhi Institute, starting from book 1 up to 14, now 15, we have all the items we need for the right education. Of course, should be applied with wisdom, with really patience with the people around us. One of the items is really difficult to remove are the traditions, because generally speaking, all the population of the planet is divided by the fact that we are working with traditions. If you come to Europe, all Europe is going to traditions. Traditions are not coming from the holy books, are coming from the interpretation of the priests about the words of the prophet, like in the Christianity, Paul, like in the Islam, with Omar or with Abu Bakr or with Ali and so on. So the problem is that generally the pure water given by the manifestation of God of the past has been polluted by interpretation. This is the problem. Baha'u'llah has avoided it because before passing away, he has clarified in his will and testament that the one we should really follow is Abdul Bahab, the greatest son, in order that he has given the right interpretation. So one of the idea of universal education given by Baha'u'llah is that this education should be done everywhere. I have two sons, one son and one daughter living in Africa. One is living in the, you're working for the United Nations in Africa, in different countries like Congo, like Chad, like Central African Republic, and one is in South Africa. Everywhere you go, America, Europe, Japan, India, Africa, the institute is exactly the same. We study the same books that my daughter is studying with the children in the Congo. Because it's not a problem of intellectual understanding. It's a spiritual understanding. It's to accept the value. Of course, it's necessary to understand also to read and write and to read about mathematics and to learn about history and so on. But you have to put inside the values. And with the Ruhi Institute around the planet, we put the values in a way that everybody on the planet can understand. So when I was saying that the sentence of the quotation of Baha'u'llah is the earth is but one country, but mankind is citizens, we already consider the people of the world citizenship. So the children of the Congo, the Baha'i community, are learning the same thing as we are learning in Italy, or you learn with Jiten in India, or in America, in Los Angeles, or in Tokyo. Why? Because in any time we will meet each other, we will speak the same language. We will have the same education, and we will have the same idea. This will take time because education takes time. And education is not only done by words, but by deeds. The Ruhi Institute has what we call it the practical activities after the book. So you learn something and you have to put in practice in your community. It's not the Baha'i community, but the community at large, in order that the people can really benefit from the way we are learning.
Thank you very much. So anyway, we are going to the last part of the program, which is reciting the pledges. And I'll be requesting Mr. Yash to reading the pledges. The idea behind reading the pledges is to, remember what we discussed and what we are carrying home and what we are going to do after the discourse. What we have learned from the program and what we are going to do hereafter. And this is exactly in the schools that we memorized the poems when we were children. But it's a wonderful idea, and it reminds us that it's not everything going to be same hereafter. So I will request dear Yash, and in order to minimize the noise, I will only unmute a few friends who will repeat the pledges along with dear Yash. And all other friends are requested to repeat themselves, but it will not create noise because we will not unmute themselves. I will request Adib to unmute Mr. Hemati, Mr. Farida, and Madam Pina. And dear Yash, you are unmuted. You can read the pledges line by line slowly, so the friends are able to repeat it after you.
Sure, Dr. Mishra. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, statement of pledges. First, we recognize that after waves of sufferings, caused by the pandemic, the society around us, is in the need of hope, guidance, and spiritual strength. We promise to promote and nurture the attributes of empathy, tranquility, collaboration, and trust in God to help our neighborhoods. Grow with patience and maturity. We learn from recent experience that welfare of any group of people is connected with welfare of the whole. And our collective strength suffers when one group thinks of its own interest and well-being in isolation from others. We promise that each of our thoughts and actions will always be in accordance with the well-being and benefit of everyone around us. We recognize that science is a noble gift of God to man, and one must listen to science and its spurts during time of crisis. We promise to use our reasoning faculty not to become a liability for the society, keep away from rumors with vested interest, and self-serving ideas, and promote awareness on social and health issues
and promote
social and
health issues
for the protection and well-being of all.
For the protection and well-being
of all.
We recognize that the natural world
we recognize
world
reflects the qualities,
reflects
qualities,
qualities,
attributes, and the will of our Creator,
attributes, the will
of our Creator,
and it must be respected and protected by all means.
and
and it must be
protected by all means.
by
all means.
We promise to do everything possible
promise to
Promise to do everything
for the protection of our nature,
For the protection of our nature,
adhere to humane treatment of animals,
adhere to human treatment of animals,
animals,
and strive to minimize our carbon footprint
and strive to minimize the carbon footprint
for the protection of our children and future generations.
for the
for
protection
the
of
protection of children and future generations.
We recognize the fundamental message of the pandemic
we
We
recognize
recognize the fundamental message of the pandemic
is that of humanity's interdependence
is that of humanity's interdependence
independence
and inherent oneness.
and inherent
oneness.
We agree that all human beings are accountable
We agree that we all beings are
accountable
to build a common future.
to
will
build our
future,
Self-interest and urge to dominate
self-interest
also dominate.
dominate.
others must be restrained for the sake of collective well-being.
must be
Others
Be restrained for the sake of collective well-being.
collective well-being.
We agree that purity of one's aims
We agree that
Agree that purity of one's aims
must be matched with the purity of actions.
must be met with the purity of
actions.
So we promise to nurture this understanding,
So,
promise to nurture this understanding,
be fair in our dealings,
be fair in our
our
dealings,
dealings,
promote collaboration,
promote
Promote collaboration,
work towards building a shared ethic
work
work towards building a shared
ethic,
and a unifying vision for our common future.
and a unifying vision
in our common future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Yash. Thank you so much. Dear friends, we are planning to, in the future, we are planning to have very, very small groups and even one-to-one conversations in order to permeate these ideas that we are discussing about at the workplaces and other forums. In case you have any such requirement at your workplace, at any other platforms, you are most welcome to contact us. We will leave the contact in the chat box, and you can contact us hereafter. If you want to have a copy of the statement of pledges, do let us know. We can email it to you. If you leave your emails in the chat box, we will send it to you. Dear friends, what we can conclude from this deliberations today, from the address of our keynote speaker, what did we understand and what we carry home? The idea is to have the right perspective to life. How do we create a right perspective to life? How do we generate and utilize the resources that we have at our disposal and the resources of the society? The role of the spiritual principles in the individual life. How do we shape our behavior by using those ethics and spiritual ideas? How do we understand the higher purpose of human life? And how do we evolve a shared ethic acceptable to all in the society? We must understand that human life has to have a balance between its practical requirement and the spiritual requirement. You know, the worship to the Almighty and service to the society has to go hand in hand. We must understand that our self-interest has to be restrained for the welfare of the community. In fact, we have no choice but to continue to remain in a chaotic society if we don't change our choices. We have to realize that we are part of the society and cannot stay in isolation and peace when the surrounding is chaotic. You know, we have to understand that the welfare of one segment of the people is impossible to attain when the other segment is suffering and in misery. The recent pandemic has taught us this lesson very clearly. Let us remember that we have just experienced it. It does not have to define the future in the same way. We don't have to face the same consequences in the future unless we change ourselves. Let us promise that we don't promote ideas and norms suiting to our own interest only in the name of freedom and human rights, which is contrary to the collective well-being of the society. Let us promise that we don't control resources and land others in trouble. Let us promise that we listen to science and experts, not to promote the rumors, not to promote the controversies, not to promote pessimism around us for the sake of protection of our children, of our family, and future generations. Let us promise to be fair in our dealings with people at our workplaces and our neighborhoods, with our neighbors. Justice has to take a central role in our life if we want to bring about peace and unity around us in our immediate neighborhoods. Let us promise to liberate ourselves from the prejudices and embrace everyone, as children of one creator and members of one family. I would like to paraphrase here from the words of Baha'u'llah, what he said, that no power can exist except through unity, and no welfare and no well-being is possible except through true consultation without bias and prejudice. If we see the world of nature, we see that cooperation, reciprocity, mutual support, these are the characteristics of the natural world, and it has to be applied in the human world too. Let us promise to be human to the natural world, to the animals, and not to cross the boundaries set by the laws of God and nature. Let us not forget that the true inspiration to be selfless and empathic comes from the inner motivation, which comes from spiritual resources. The chaotic world order can only be rectified through consciousness of oneness of humanity, and to set the world affairs aright cannot be done by ignoring religion. Religion is the only force that can engender inner motivation within us to be selfless, to be moderate, to be content, and to contribute to the life of the society and its well-being. Universal participation, sharing of resources, sharing of responsibility, equal access to knowledge and resources cannot be brought about forcefully, but rather by empathic attitude of ours. Let us remember that we, the people, can change and bring about change in culture and shape our future. The rulers will have no choice but to accept the public opinion and follow the public sentiments. I remember the words of Banisha Umashankar. I don't know, maybe some of you have heard. She is the 15-year-old girl who just won the Earthshot prize of Prince William's. There was a prize, there was a competition. She invented a solar-powered iron that will be helpful to press the clothes of millions of people on the streets. And she was given an opportunity to address the heads of the states in COP26 meeting. And you know what she said? Her lines were so thought-provoking that it became viral. And this is exactly what all of us, we should do in our individual lives. She said, we choose not to complain, but take actions. We don't wait for you. We will act ourselves. We will lead even if you don't lead. We will build the future, even if you are stuck in the past. Beautiful language and beautiful, very strong lines said to the rulers of the world. So it makes it very clear that individuals can bring about constructive changes in the society, even if the rulers do not support, even if the arbiters of the society play a destructive role. There are many things we can do, take initiatives in our personal capacity to bring about changes around us. And there are many more such examples around us. They're creating, vibes of positivity, and we have to learn from them. We must realize that our learning, our education, they are of little value if they are not used for the services of the society. We must justify our life as human beings, because human beings are distinguished above all other forms of life. due to the power of intellect and power of wisdom. Let us work hard to build bridges, initiate positive conversations based on the ideas that we have learned in our discourse, and contribute to our own family, our neighborhood, and the wider society. Let us promise that through education and our concerted efforts, we will be able to minimize the carbon footprint that we leave for the destruction of the society. We have to minimize it. We respect the natural world, and we respect the boundaries set by the law of God and the nature, and be instrumental to minimize the impact of disasters in the time to come. With this note, I thank all of you from the core of my heart for joining this discourse. We will come back after a few weeks on another thought-provoking theme. We request all of you to support our modest initiative and publicize it widely, and invite your friends, your neighbors to contact or join our programs in building this awareness, making it more stronger and more consolidated, and the efforts will be more stronger for the construction of the society. This is the only way we can build a unifying vision, a consciousness which is so necessary to build a better society. I thank Mr. Beppe Robiati for his kindness, for his support, and he has kindly joined us and he has taken his time to help us. I thank Dr. Merchant, Mr. Yash, Mr. Parida, and Madam Pina, and Mr. Hemmati, and many more friends who have helped us for making this program successful. Please take care of yourself, your surroundings, your fellow human beings. Stay content in life. Keep smiling in the face of all the odds that you face, and please contribute to the society and to the fellow human beings. I leave the contacts in the chat box. Please do communicate with us if you like our program, if you want to share your feedback, if you want any sorts of help, we are there to help you all. May we have a wonderful week ahead. Namaskar and all the best to all of you, and wonderful week ahead. Take care. Thank you very much, dear friends, for joining. I leave the contacts in the chat box for you to note down. Thank you very much, dear friends.